So on August 10th, day 15 of the Olympics, I went down to Versailles for modern pentathlon. It was a women's semifinal round, and so they had two sessions, one in the morning and the afternoon, and the top qualifiers from those two sessions went on to the finals the next day. There was a bit of a challenge getting out there because they had the metro, but then the bus lines were stopped because the men's marathon was being run that day. And then the marathon for all, for the public, was being run that evening. So they blocked off the roads. And so the buses weren't taking people. So it was about, I'd say, 45 minutes to an hour to walk to the venue and then back again. It was my first time watching modern pentathlon. It consists of 5 events. The first one is show jumping, and so they would deduct points depending on how many gates were knocked down, or they would penalize based on time.
And for Jessica Savner, no time penalties, 7 jumping penalties, a score of 293.
The second event was fencing. And that was interesting because they had like this blow-up contraption. It looked like a bounce house setting up fencing on the side. And so what they did was the lowest ranked person had to start, and they would have to keep defeating the next ranked person. So if they survived, they would keep fencing until they were knocked out. The highest ranked person was at the very end. And so the lower your rank, the more people you have to fence to then gain position. The third event was swimming, and they had a pool built out there. For the most part, everyone had to watch on the screens because it was kind of far from the stands.
So at the 50 meters stage, we can see the athletes are still buzzing out of the ball. It's pretty close. It has to be said. It looks like Ian and the lane 6 are running soon.
So the fourth and fifth event were combined, and it was called a laser run. You'd have to run a lap, and then you would have to then shoot and hit your target 5 times. If you missed, you have to keep shooting until you hit it 5 times, and then you would run another lap. And this continued on for 5 total laps. The combination of it all was really interesting to me. The site, of course, Versailles, was pretty amazing. It was also where the equestrian events happened. Overall, it was one of the top 3 venues that I really looked forward to when I bought tickets early on. And then during lunchtime, when they broke between the 2 sessions, everyone just basically had a picnic al fresco outside. So for me, that was a pretty memorable scene, just seeing everyone hanging out, having lunch under the canopy of trees out at Versailles for lunch during the 2 sessions. So then later that evening, I went back to Rafa Nadal's house, Roland-Garros, to watch boxing at night. The event started pretty late. I think it was like 9:30. They closed the roof, and they had the lights on for boxing. And one ring in center court, really cool setup. I was up in the nosebleeds with my seats, but still fun. There were a lot of medal matches that night, and so I stuck around for a few of them.
In red from Uzbekistan.
One of the more entertaining bouts of the night was Yu-ting, and her fans, they were just having a party up in the rafters. It was really fun watching them, especially when she won a gold medal. And then seeing her get emotional for her medal ceremony and her fans up in the stands was It was a really memorable experience there at Roland-Garros. I decided to leave a little early because I wanted to get back down for the Marathon for All. That started at 9 p.m. around the same time boxing did. But at midnight, the 10K for the Marathon for All started. And so you just heard a sea of people cheering on all the runners that were coming through. It was the first time that they let the public run the actual marathon course at the games. And then to allow for a lot more people to run this 10K, I thought was a really cool thing. I tried to sign up for it, but I didn't make the cut. But it was fine because at this point, I think I had walked nearly 200 miles and developed like this ginormous blister on my toe. So I probably wouldn't have enjoyed running that 10K if I had the opportunity to.
So right now the Marathon for All is happening. This is a far cry from that first day when I was here with the QR code and everything was empty here. So
the route came up along Place du Carousel. And so you saw the flame, the balloon floating above. And so the runners were kind of taking their time and taking photos of it as they were running across. And that was just a really memorable scene, seeing them running across. And then right behind you was the Louvre and the pyramid.
it's definitely been a successful Olympic Games and people are enjoying it. And so it is quite the scene. So it's great to see.
So the Marathon for All I thought was a great success. When they brought up this idea years ago, I thought, what a cool idea. And so for me, it really cemented this idea of the games being for all people by letting the general public be a part of the games. And it being the final night before the final day of the Olympics, I don't think a lot of people got that much rest that night in Paris.